Just over 2 hours to go for these games to wrap up in the semifinals, and we're getting ever so closer, narrowing it down to top 100 right now. And Bucky FPS is in the lead once again, coming back strong. And now we get to see if he's going to be able to hold or maintain against some new and some old. I see a name that I have no clue who the player is because he's using an alias that I have never heard of. This guy pre-fired by 50 ping. If somebody knows who he is, please DM me. But we have Animal. We have other people as well up in the top 10 that are completely dominating. But there's also everybody down in the top 100 that we want to keeping an eye on that threshold.
I mean, no matter who you are, it's all about accelerating, speeding up, and starting to make your gameplay faster. Because from what we've seen, if you're slowing down right now, there's no possible way to keep up and hit that top 100. Game 3 is now underway, and we're going to be tuning in still towards that south side of the map. It's NA East, it's the semifinals, and it's that top spot you have to strive for, or you're going to be left behind.
And I see, we've seen an early game fight here already. And Big Op versus Loxit, but in the background all the way down the hill, the other shack, the other house, it's Rubyfied, who is playing pretty decently. So this fight could have implications on him, who has implications on the leaderboard. You have to follow me a little bit there. You can't see me, but I'm going around like a madman with my finger.
No, I see it. I understand. It's kind of like the butterfly effect, right? You even let one person go right through and let them do a little bit of damage. It affects so many different people, even if they never see them or aren't in the same game. If Rubyfied gets 10 points, someone else above him does not get a good game, he gets dropped down, he pushes other people down, Rubyfied rises. Still though, the big thing is being in the same game, getting into the same fights with other people at your drop. It'll be the Big Op versus Loxit. Loxit's low right now, playing for position. A medkit, a bandage will not be enough to stop a charge pump at your box. It's gonna be up against attack. I mean, you don't need to predict it. You don't need to hype it up. We already know what happens time and time again.
Well done, though, to win the early game fight. That will give him his first 5 points of the game. Walkman in this game, that's definitely somebody to track as time goes on. Rubyfied at 104. He's only about 50 points off of that top spot, so potential for him to get back into it. But this is what I was talking about, Ops. Now moving down the hill towards the campfire, we'll be able to now take shots at Rubyfied if he spots him, but playing close and through the tree line. There it is. He's got him in the sights, but we'll maybe let him go. I don't know if he smells that this has been looted already. And Rubyfied is paying very close attention to what is going on around him. Well played.
I never see people taking fights and going for all ins that far when you're landing at places that are still sort of spread apart with loot. Big Op landing at one house, now needs to find another and then move on maybe to Misty. If he chose to chase Rubyfied completely, he just loses out on so much loot. You saw in the first game, I forget who we were talking about, but he started to go back and forth. I think it was Binky. And when you chase eliminations, when you chase people instead of chasing loot, you ultimately lose your position. You fall way far behind compared to everyone else who's playing the game for loot. And then you end up getting picked off. Marauders, though, next to Rubyfied, this might actually be a fight that the Big Op wants to go straight for, because there's way more than a third party. It's a fiesta that's going on in Rubyfied's box. He's already down to brick, a metal, basically having no match. These Marauders will not stop, and now Op is speeding way up to catch things before they end. Okay, I think it was Op. Okay, as long as it wasn't the Marauders, I'm fine.
Well, clearly they had a big say in that. I think maybe they beamed him down and Op got the final shot even. The same thing might happen to Opt if he's not careful. Yes, from the hill. The same exact situation. Looks like we're watching a replay right now. That happened to Rubyfied, but he's down and out. A player that could have had huge consequences on the leaderboard. At least now he gets to go right back into a queue, and he's not really wasting time if he was to fall later on. But obviously you don't want that to happen at all, because he still had so much on his path. Look at the loot late. It's uncontested at the little electrical outpost nearby and on the bridge even. I don't see anybody who would have already looted that.
It's in the right place to move to. We might be seeing another northern zone. And when that happens, you know, the potential for water being a big thing that makes the caddy launchers slightly less useful and makes height harder to hold overall, but safer to have.
People definitely getting more comfortable, more loose on NA East. We're down to 75 right now. Obviously seeing people stretch on their early game a little bit more and potentially push much more aggressively than you might other times. I know Nico has gotten 2 eliminations in this game so far, and he was in top 10 for quite a while. One of the players who performed very well in week 2 of the FNCS Invitational that you pointed out aptly. A fight with Frist at Caddy Corners, so maybe a reason for Frist's success, and we get to watch it this time.
I mean, this looks like a loose fight too because it's been going on for so long. Investments in a very high box fight. You don't really get to see this POV too often. It'll be Wolfie that Frist is playing up against. When will the first shot land? That will dictate who's kind of the controller for this fight, even though Frist is all the way near the top side. He gets a nice shot onto Wolfie, but Chuck splashes are there. This is going to be a long one. You mentioned these games getting a little bit more loose, slowing down in terms of the lobby size, but it speeds right up. Frist just drops in the box. It's on a time trial.
Gears.
Yeah, it's on a complete time trial. Because the more games that happen, the less you have left to play. Then it starts to get even tighter. So you mentioned Nico. We look at Frist, the way they're going for these fights in all inning. You only have a few more games to be able to do this. Then you're at your last chance for the NAE semifinals.
Yeah, you're right. So a couple third parties here for Frist. Curious if he plays aggressive still in Caddy with what he has. Obviously, he has the tools to be able to take fights, and especially still early as there's no third parties potentially looming. But we know Caddy. We know that if you show that shockwave launcher at all throughout the game, or if you're even spotted anywhere near Caddy at this stage of the game, you will get keyed. Now, pop a pepper. Hop right out of there. Straight out to the side, hoping that he can avoid any more fights and play a little passive throughout the game. Now back over to the bridge of Misty Meadows. It's Cosmic who edged his way in, and Shai, you had some words to say about Cosmic and his ride from barely qualifying to the World Cup and how he's basically still here even though all that time.
I mean, there's so many things I can say about Cosmic. For me, it's like he randomly pops up so many different times in many competitions, whether it's on land, whether it's somewhere else online in a different region. He's never just had his recognition, though. That's my thing, because this is a World Cup qualified player who's still here in solos. 79 points, feels like he's still on the mark right now for where he needs to be for the top 100, or at least shoot into it. I never know enough about him, though. I think the only word I can ever associate with this man is mysterious. Like, how does he play?
Elusive.
Yeah, elusive.
All right. Oh, we might get a first glimpse at that. A snipe opportunity that he doesn't take on the backside. He's going to box up. He's at 79 points right now, which should be on pace for top 100. I'll take a look at what it was the last time I updated my leaderboard. It was 241 on EU. Right now it's 76, so really literally just slightly above where he's at. And a player who's right on that cusp is Commandment with only 76 points himself.
Oh, he's peeking through now. Okay. We're getting the clutch Commandment coming out from the backside.
Booga in this game. He takes out Frat, who had a very solid performance in Heat 2. That's somebody I want to follow for sure in this game, as well as like Nico.
I would say that's kind of a heated rivalry, because all throughout scrims when it came to solos, every single time if you tune into Booga's stream, it was him versus Frat off spawn time and time again. And Frat was getting the bad end of the stick. It was somewhere, I think, on the north side past the boat. It might be even on that yacht that has that.
Yeah, that's where Booga's landing for sure.
Yeah. So it's just Frat's been having a little bit of trouble with it sometimes, and Booga's usually coming out on top. No difference here today in this game. Maybe they don't get into the same one afterwards. But right now we're watching Cosmic move. Fryst is caught up towards the zone. Might have to use that shockwave launcher to get past or get by, but he'll take the shots first. There's Cosmic with his first voice, his first say in the game. A big snipe followed by a perfect beam.
Frist on the side of this too, potentially a snipe target for Cosmic. It's funny though, you say his first say in the game, yes, definitely in terms of eliminations and points, but even him just being on that ridge, looking down into that fight, gives those guys the fear in their hearts to move forward, because down, up, and up a ravine is so difficult. There's a snipe from, I can't quite read the name, but it was a nice shot regardless.
Everyone's getting so much better with those snipers, and I think it's something you have to carry at least early mid game for free tags. Even the potential for what Cosmic did right there. Accelerated damage, even those one-shot headshots, it's absolutely free for points. He almost gets sniped himself twice. So weird to see this side of the map being played out. Regularly, so many trees around this place. It's very safe to rotate, but scary. Now so much more open in Season 3. This is Weeping Woods, and it's crying a lot more than usual. A lot of water in that POI. But now here's the main man who makes other people cry more. It's Booga.
And he's well on his way for qualification right now. At least 30 points above where he needs to be, so should be somewhere in the top 50 right now. And looking good right as well. No shields to the name though, and that's what he's looking for, as well as farming back up, because clearly that fight that he had with Frat may be a little bit more extended, as he had cabbages off of the yacht too, so had to possibly spend some time in the zone.
Yeah, for context, like I believe you can stack up to 15 cabbages, so he's used a lot to get to this point. Swap them out for the harpoon or nades though. That's nice to see.
Again, Booga was somebody who did not go to DreamHack Anaheim out of all the NA East pros, which was quite surprising for a lot of people, because at that point in time, people still regarded him as one of the better solo players, but missing out on three of the solo LAN tournaments that we had before everything shut down. Kind of put a dent in that one, but maybe now he'll try to reclaim. The FNCS Invitationals went pretty decently for him. Played significantly well in week 2 leading up into that qualification, but then had some unfortunate circumstances in the grand finals that prevented him from going much further. And something to note too is that this is the first time since World Cup essentially where Booga is not streaming an event. He hasn't been streaming yesterday. He was streaming all the practice leading up to this, but fully focused on doing his best at DreamHack.
I mean, there's more on the line than just the reputation for himself. Now he's up against his old dual partner, his trio that he left too. Stretch, who's at 8th right now, is near the top side of this leaderboard, and there's a little bit of camaraderie rivalry between these guys. They always want to be showing up the other and making sure, I guess they got the better half of the breakup. I don't know how to explain it, but it's not a love-hate relationship, but it's a relationship of sorts, and one person has to be the definitive better, right? When it comes to gaming, when it comes to comp.
Another Sweaty Sands end game, and this time we tune in with Smacked, who's at 118 points. No, not Schmecked. I will correct anybody who's thought that in the past. Those are two different people. Smacked, sitting in the bottom of a building, should be sitting here for quite some time because of his position. All the mats that he could possibly want. Maybe he could farm up a little bit more, but doesn't even need to expose himself for anything extra. If he does want to, though, might have something to build in if he does get the zone favorite.
We mentioned it before in the early game. You can see the effects of just being in like a game 3, game 4 state in these semifinals. 59 people already. It's kind of the same zone before. It was, I think, 20 more at this point who were still alive. Little business as usual in the same place that he was before. Tuning in with Smack, though, for me, kind of like Cosmic, but doesn't have the same amount of big placements. I am always wondering how this man plays, where his mindset is at, what are his strengths, his weaknesses. Because he's been here for a long, long time. He's had many different roles, being the IGL of trios and squads, being the solo clutch player like Commandment is for Satan staff sometimes. But right now, he's based up. He's playing the tactical side of the game. Frag going down. Okay, so the brains are here for Smack today.
At least the positioning. Obviously intertwined. Smack played with, remind me, it was Posick and Niddle in trios?
Casker sometimes as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Casker, yeah, too. That they kind of all mix together. But yeah, you're right, playing very well throughout all those different stages of FNCS. Performed very well in the Intel Elite Cup recently. But man, this is a stat game. We're getting to the point where the point-based matchmaking system is working clearly as intended. Look at this. Graska, Strobe. We saw Strobe in the last game. Nico, who's way up there. Kaz in the background. Cosmic. Booga.
Chris.
Everybody here is almost above 100 points right now, which means that this end game will decide a lot. This will make it so we know who is going to overtake in the lead. Yes, a lot of people could earn a lot of points together if they all go in that direction. But when you have such strong players, you know that they will put others down. They will keep them at the bottom of the leaderboard and pointless game after game.
This might be the same game that we saw from the last time. Bronos, once again, who we tuned in with the early game, who was getting so many eliminations, winning off and then ending up in sweaty late, this time early. We saw the big Ronnie have height way back before. This time he's there again above Sloth, who we saw last game too. New contenders, though, we got Kaz, Skittles. Both those players very similar in how they enter competitions and hold their ground on leaderboards.
And you just saw briefly in the bottom left there, it was an earlier replay of one of Booga's end games where he got 2 back-to-back eliminations while also going for high placement. And that's where he shines, in my opinion, the best in terms of end game positioning and understanding and recognizing the layers. Basically what I would call spatial positioning. Bronos is gonna go right next to Kadrent. Oh, what a play from Bronos. Using the pepper and catching one of the top players right now by surprise. Right on the side of him, he will take him down instantly and still able to escape so fast, a thief in the night.
Fast and furious, drifting in and out with the speed of that pepper, and leaves a wreck behind for Taken and Fearful, who have to just try to climb out of the driver's seat and move towards the next zone. It'll be crash pads used as insurance to catch up on lost time. Meanwhile, though, while these guys have to move, there are gatekeepers in the form of Walkman, who's to the top, Graska, who's trying to climb up, Divine, who's in the top 3, looking down, and then our man of the match, in my opinion, from last game, Strobe, who is in the exact same spot that we saw before. I'm curious what his loadout's going to be. Right now, though, the 2 players we're focusing on is Bronos, who got that slick elimination moving forward, and Ronnie, who had the most control last game and an opportunity to win it out with the caddy launcher.
Just seeing how this zone plays, because there's potentially a bunch of different ways. This time in the 4th zone, that high ground position that we mentioned last time that was in the center of zone has the potential to be really, really nice. Clarity G also in this game. We talked about him last time, and the fan favorite, at least when we asked in the pregame, as we watch Kaz in the end game, is Clicks right on top of Edgy. And hopefully in a good position in terms of HP, in terms of loadout right now, 200 effective.
I feel like Clicks is slightly handicapped here today. He's got a little bit of wrist pain coming into this competition, so I'm not sure how that's going to affect him playing out in this game, if his mechanics are going to be a little bit less, if he has a different game plan moving forward. But we know it's the big Clicks. If there's anyone that can fight through it, it has to be this man.
Ronnie, remember last time he almost came out on top with the shockwave launcher, but somehow traded it out. I would love to figure out exactly how that ended up unfolding, but regardless, he almost gets one. It's smacked down below. Perfect. He goes back into his old builds to take those shots. Now zone pulling up north, mostly water, but pulling towards Clicks and Edgy, who we saw earlier at the docks.
So we have winners basically controlling where the zone has to go. We have these controllers on low ground in the form of Kaz and Smack, who we've seen eliminations from before. We have Neon, who I just see the name of, who is so scary to play against box to box, especially on rotations. That's where he gets his eliminations. And right now, Ronnie is waiting for people to move over. It's a threat on all sides. My gosh, there's too many things going on. It's so hard to keep track.
Yeah, with all these different perspectives right there, but Ronnie is paying close attention to who is opening and who potentially could get sniped in the face. He trades out the hunting rifle for 2 extra floppers, and now the crash pads, which have not been elapsed, almost goes up to height, but slightly mistimes that, not quite hitting the mark. Booga down on low ground. Ronnie gonna go for height up against Kaz. Only a couple layers though as he stops, and nobody really controlling it. There's Clicks in the middle of all this congestion.
Suddenly the people who were low ground now have the control on height. Smack and Kaz have upgraded, promoted all the way towards the top. Ronnie, though, still editing, looking for shots. It seems like the top three are side by side. Divine and Niddle, box to box, looking for their next moves. Old trio partners, Clarity and Booga, sharing similar bases, similar spaces. And unknown players who are still trying to make their rise toward the fame, toward the top side of Fortnite comp. Score on the outside of these builds. Nico actually picking off Edgy near the top side. So not only does he get the loot, he stops someone from accelerating their game and taking over the #1 seed for NA East.
And don't forget the thresholds that we're keeping track of. First place before this game was 168 points. So for Booga, it's about 40 points that it needs to go. And top 100 right now stands at 76. Let me even get a closer update on that with no spoilers at all. 104 is currently that top 100 threshold. So let's boost everybody way up in this game, specifically Booga, potentially going to be able to do that, possibly even get closer and closer to clinching. Ronnie as well, who now has full control of height. Almost a snipe though from Booga. Another one misses too, but a couple tags will put Ronnie on the back foot.
Back foot, but a risk for Booga because he's on the max side of where he has to go for zone. Not sure if he has a launch to get there. Clarity's already popping straight through. They were just side by side now. Worlds, eons, decades away from each other. Storm box is moving forward. Ronnie still controlling height. It'll be a launch pad Booga uses to catch up on speed, but right now it's everyone using mobility to get to the front side of the zone. Near the back, Frisk just waits near the storm. Nico is trying to maybe even go for height. Ronnie is being very patient, looking at where exactly he needs to move to keep control.
And at the same time, in the picture-in-picture, we got Booga and Clicks, two of the biggest streams on Twitch right now, possibly going to go in a duel of fates, completely opposite sides of the zone. Booga with another shot. He makes it count, gets another Elim. He's now up to 2 and has floppers to play with if he needs to play in the zone. At the same time, Ronnie is still up on height as Clicks finds one too in the center of everything, and floppers for him as well. Could all end up playing in zone.
Booga has no shields, though he has to be very careful, but at the same time, take big risks to come back. Now Skittles is next to Ronnie. This man will always go for that high play whenever possible. Clicks is on another box and finally gets another shot in. This man is not slowing down. Metal builds that are all his around him. It's doubling back. Booga is playing so much slower. Fresh now has height, dropping down Ronnie. Skittles, though, staying within range to just grab him back. Strobe goes down. Booga gets another pick. It's chaos on all sides. Everyone is activating on all cylinders here. It's insane.
And I'm just keeping track of a lot of different things. Booga finally goes down, cornered by a number of different people. Now we're looking at Clicks possibly making a high ground play, but only 300 builds left. It's only Wood. Gonna go up a layer though and getting ever so close to Frisk, who has that shockwave launcher and is the biggest threat on the server. He's got Kaz down, and next threat possibly Clicks. He picks up a couple more brick. That's 50. That will make a lot of extra time for him, as there it is. Frisk deciding where the target is. Gonna go back up. Clicks, no, it's Smacked who beams him. For a second, it looked like he was gonna play the zone, but he opens up and Smacked is waiting for him.
The most consistent player of the game, but he's gonna be going up against bigger odds, bigger power now. So shockwave launcher on height with Frisk. We saw him just take control of it very early on, and he's held onto it the entire time. Just one rocket left though. Nico versus Niddle near the storm, and Nico goes all the way up on a launch pad. He could get all the way through. Frisk is gonna refresh, and now just to hold on to height. No extra rocks to go off that. Nico now has height on him. Ronnie on the mid ground, but it's a big fight near the top side. Who will control the game and possibly win a box down from Nico? Gets put in and churned out. The shockwave launcher, the last rocket beaming straight up. Frisk has control, but for how long will that last? Grandma is waiting down below for whoever wins this to see who exactly will be in that final 1v1 though. It's gonna be Frisk and Nico still fighting each other.
Yeah, and that fight's so impactful. Frisk has wasted his last shockwave launcher, did not refresh anything else, so all he has now to rely on is pressure from above, and he will do that, just that. Nico must be running out of materials. Tries to take a return shot, but it's not gonna work. At the same time, Grandma down on that layer. Smacked as well. Clarity G in there too, and the big Ronnie. So many players vying for the top spot.
But at the top right now, Frisk has no more shields left. He doesn't have the power in the position, but Nico is the one who has the damage. He's still moving forward, has proper position onto Frisk. It seems like he still has the mats to boot. Might have just done a little bit of a fake. Frisk is in trouble. Down below, Clarity gets a few picks off. Smack is still waiting in the stormer. Huge shot there from Ronnie. Traded now. He's box to box. Frisk is inside. Grandma down below. Clarity gets picked up. On all sides of this end game, there are just picks happening over and over again. Smacked is not the controller of mid ground. Nico ended up winning off of height. Grandma Grandma, though, is still the controller. No more water down below. He has the prime position at ultimate low ground. He needs to wait it out. Smack goes down below. Nico has a refresh on Rocket, so he has the shockwave launcher. Just raining down with fall damage. He drops down to 1 HP. Grandma gets a refresh. Nico can't touch Storm, and the shockwave launcher is his demise. He loses the game, and by consistent holds, Grandma just controls everything and gets the victory royale.
What is that game? So many different threads just unfolded, and for good reason. It felt like every single player in the top 20 was in that one specifically. Nico with the outplay on Frist in the zone to overtake and win that shockwave launcher, but then without mats, he couldn't actually bring it to good use, and eventually he will fall and lose again. Caddy, so far in the games we've watched, has not actually won out the games, but there's been quite different amounts of ways to take on this one. Regardless, Kelly is here to hopefully calm us down a little bit after that one.
I don't know how you could even pretend to be calm after that last fight right there. Just watching Booga versus Clicks like about 5 minutes ago, and then it just devolved into this madness where, like you said, Bala, the 20 best players seem to be all fighting at the same time right there. One thing that I do want to mention, it seemed like Frist had the high ground right there, but you said, I believe it was Shayo that said that Nico has more damage. So is that why Frist wasn't able to like kind of claim the high ground and turn it into a victory?
I think Frist was getting a little bit too greedy with his position. He had Nico right under him and he knew that, but he was trying to look for more eliminations past Nico. Nico was kind of, I think, faking the fact that he had no mats left, making Frist a little bit more comfortable than he should have been. And then after that, Nico popped out, did the damage, and just had Frist on the back door.
I think it also might have been the mat situation, but Nico really outplayed him in terms of where Frist thought he was. He thought he was at the front of that tarp. Nico had dodged his way back all the way, and Frist was looking in front and couldn't find him. Nico was still in zone. He thought he had dropped down. He didn't look at all, and he gets popped in the back for it.
Yeah, that was a crazy game right there. I believe that's the third game that we've been able to watch so far, although there are several games going on at the same time, chat. We do have 500 players right now competing to make it to the top 100, and I believe the point threshold right now for the top 100 is around 108. My scoreboard might not be updating, but we can look at the top 3 right here, constantly changing. Aliens in first place, we have Paper in second, and then Nico in third right now. I believe this is actually the updated scoreboard, so interesting indeed. Smacked, who we just saw in that last fight right there, sitting at 5th.
You got to remember that this is matchmaking. They're not custom games. So the top 3 who I believe are kind of in a similar game, Niddle, Divine, and whoever else was there. Also, I think Bucky, who kind of dropped down a bit. Their points might still be coming in on the next update. So yes, there's a few players that are coming straight up right now. Aliens is holding things down. There could be an 80-point swing from Niddle, from Divine, from Clarity, or anyone else we saw in that last game, Freist, who could be near the top. So it's always going to be a jumble up. It's always going to be like a Jenga piece, a Jenga structure all the way to the top, pieces on pieces on pieces. So that last game till queues closed, then everything tumbles down. We can actually see what happened. Right now, though, it's closer than I think I've ever seen in the semifinals.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy right now. The point differentials aren't too far apart from each other. Some players that we didn't see in the top 20, but that are still in the top 100 that I know are some fan favorites. We have Clicks right now sitting at 33, and then Booga at 26 right there. So although they weren't able to turn that into a victory royale, they seem to be sitting pretty nice right now after the game 3. But chat, we obviously have more Fortnite action coming up, but we're gonna take a quick break, so don't go anywhere.